Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the GSMC Football Podcast brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. As always, I'm your host, Kenneth Grunfelder, and it's great to have everybody here on this Thursday, January 11th. We have a lot to talk about on the show today, but before I get into that, I just want to fix my camera, and there we go. It's good. Okay. All right, before I get into that, just want to remind you guys, as always, to tip or donate and get your comments recognized, make sure to go to the following link. That is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. Again, that really helps the show, makes the show more interactive between myself, the host, and you guys, the viewers. Again, that is streamelements.com/gsmcsportsnetwork./tip. And as always, is displayed on the ticker on the bottom of the show segment down below. So, with that being said, let's get right into what we are going to talk about for today. So we're going to start off the show. We're going to talk about, it's been a wild couple of days when it comes to head coaches, not just in the NFL, but now in college as well. Some coaching changes that we will get into in a second. Then in the second part of the show, not head coaching, but coordinator news. So the Giants, they parted ways with their defensive coordinator, Wink Martindale. And I wanted to get into that because there's, some stuff to go over regarding that situation and how that could impact the Giants going forward. So I wanted to get into that. Then in the third part of the show, I wanted to look at the stat leaders, after the regular season, because I know that was something that, I would talk about from time to time. But, it's kind of been a little bit since we did that. So I wanted to look at the final numbers after the regular season regarding, who's the stats leaders and in obviously all the main categories. So we'll get into that. And then in the final part of the show, I want to talk about like the revenge games for this weekend. Because if you go through each game pretty much, except maybe for like one, their teams either played each other this season or there's, either a player or a coach facing their former team. So I just wanted to talk about that for the final part of the show. So let's get into the first topic. And again, I apologize for the camera issues. I don't know why, lately my camera's just been acting up. But, once I fix it, it's fine. It's just, I don't know, for some reason it just decides not to work in the opening. But, but everything's good now. So let's get into the first topic, which is talking about some major coaching changes in football. So, I don't know where to start. There were three major things that have happened between today and yesterday. So we had Pete Carroll is now out as the head coach of the Seahawks, and that came as a surprise. Did not expect that. Obviously, Pete Carroll is one of the older coaches in the NFL, but Seattle, they just missed out on the playoffs. Even with the changes that they've gone through, particularly at quarterback. Seattle, they made the playoffs last year. They fell a little bit short this year. They would have made it if, the Packers lost to the Bears, but they fell a little bit short. But you figured, with what the assets that they were able to acquire in the Russell Wilson trade, that they were going to continue to build this team up. And, this team was going to, I was saying it that they got to change, need to change a quarterback because I don't think Geno Smith is going to take them to the next level. But, so you thought Pete Carroll was going to be a part of that. Now, he still is because the Seahawks, they do want to keep him in the organization. But he's going to be in an advisor role in the front office. So they want to keep him in the organization, but he's just not going to be on the sidelines anymore. So the Seahawks are going to be looking for a new head coach. And listen, Pete Carroll, he took over, I believe, in 2010. And built the Seahawks up. They ended up, they won the Super Bowl. Obviously, Super Bowl, what was it, Super Bowl 48, I believe. Yeah, Super Bowl 48. They won 43-8 over the Broncos. And built one of the better defenses you'll ever see. The Legion of Boom was one of the best defenses I've ever seen in my lifetime. The Seahawks were a competitive team throughout the 2010s. And into, this next decade here. But yeah, they were for the most part, they were always competitive with Pete Carroll as their head coach. And so his overall head coaching record is 161, 112-1 in the regular season and 11-11 in the postseason. And he reached the postseason 10 of his 13 seasons as coach, advanced to the divisional round 7 times, winning 2 NFC championship games, won Super Bowl, claiming the number 1 seed twice. And Seattle led the NFL in scoring defense for 4 consecutive seasons from 2012 to 2015, becoming the first defense in the Super Bowl era to accomplish that feat. And yeah, I mean, that was a great defense, and for them, it's unfortunate because it's like what could have been if Marshawn Lynch ran the ball at the 1 yard line in Super Bowl 49, how that would have changed the course of history, maybe made Seattle into a dynasty, but that just didn't happen. But yeah, so Pete Carroll, he's out, and now we're gonna, see what Seattle does with their with their head coaching position now opening up. So now you got the other two, and they're two of the greatest head coaches of all time in college and in the NFL. So Nick Saban, you thought Pete Carroll like stepping down was crazy. Nick Saban announced his retirement, the Alabama head coach, after 17 seasons, 6 national championships. He has a college record of 297. 71-1. He started at Toledo in 1990. Then he was at Michigan State, LSU, and then obviously he did coach in the NFL for a little bit, but then he was Alabama's head coach. Won titles in 2009, 2011, 2012, 2015, 2017, and 2020. And this one came as a shock too. Really did not see that coming either. And now you see like all the Michigan fans are like, yeah, we sent Nick Saban into retirement, because he was on the McAfee show recently, and he said, because they were asking him about retirement, and he said because I'm getting older, I guess. Are they going to be here? What did he say? I ask everyone that asks me that question, are you going to be here for 4 years? Some players ask me, when are you going to retire? I look at them and say, can you guarantee me you're going to be here for 4 years? They looked at me like, hell no, I'm not making that promise. I just think it's the way of the world now. So, yeah, I mean, this kind of came out of nowhere. I again, with Pete Carroll, same thing with Pete Carroll. Didn't expect it. He's been kind of one of the staples, in college football for a long time. And now he's retiring. I mean, we've been seeing some big head coaches, in college. Look at Coach K at Duke. Him retiring as well. Like, we're seeing these these great head coaches in college sports. They're starting to leave. And now Nick Saban's like the latest of that. I could not. I didn't expect it. It's been a wild couple of days, and it only got wilder today because now you got Bill Belichick and this one though we kind of expected though, with the Patriots and Bill Belichick parting ways. Obviously, like Nick Saban, Bill Belichick is one of the greatest head coaches of all time, if not the greatest head coach of all time when it comes to the NFL. I mean, what the Patriots were able to do for pretty much my whole life since I've been on this planet, it has been remarkable. Obviously, it's been a rough couple of seasons since Tom Brady left, and people question, was it more of Tom than it was of Bill? Yeah, I mean, it's been rough. Now, I think Belichick is going to end up coaching somewhere else. Pete Carroll and Nick Saban, they're not going to be coaching. Belichick's going to go somewhere else. So, we'll see what happens. But he's the only head coach in NFL history with 7 seasons of 13-plus wins. Obviously, 6 Super Bowl championships. I mean, 3 separate dynasties, basically. 2001, 2003, 2004. That was the last team to repeat as champions, was those Patriot teams. Then you had 2014, 2016, 2018, which was when I was watching football. The first set of championships, that was before I started watching because I was a little kid. But now, 2014, 16, 18, that's when I started watching, while I was watching. So, yeah, he 12 conference titles, including 3 as an assistant. Seasons with 12. He has 13 seasons with 12 regular season wins, which is an NFL record. 17 division titles. 19 number of postseason. 19, which is the number of postseason berths as a head coach, which is tied with Don Shula for the most all time. 24 seasons as a Patriots head coach. 24 division titles as an assistant and a head coach. 29 seasons as an NFL head coach. 31 playoff victories. I mean, the list goes on of what Belichick has done as a head coach. But it's going to continue, obviously. He's not. I don't think he's done yet. But it's an end of an era. It really is. Especially with these three guys. Pete Carroll, Nick Saban, and Bill Belichick. And also, something that was interesting is the fact that for a while, actually, another thing with Nick Saban, so his coaching tenure at Alabama, he had 44 first-round picks and 20 that would go on to get drafted in the NFL, and then to 29 losses. So he had more first-round picks than he did losses, which is unbelievable. I thought I did take a picture of the of what I wanted to talk about, but yeah. So basically, it just showed throughout the 2010s, pretty much, there would be years where Nick Saban and Bill Belichick would be in the national championship and in the Super Bowl, but there was never a year where both of them would win it. At least one of them would win it. I don't know what Instagram account I saw that under. I wish I could find it. I think, did ESPN post it? Let's see. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't remember what account it was, but it's just crazy how many times they got to their respective championship games. And now there was not one year that they both won it the same year. But yeah, it's gonna be interesting next year because Seattle's got to look for a new head coach. Alabama, we'll see what they do, and we'll see where Bill Belichick ends up. It's the football world that was probably one of the crazier. This has been one of the crazier couple days in football you're gonna see. Because these guys, I mean, obviously Saban and Belichick have won a lot more than Pete Carroll, but Pete Carroll has put together some really good teams in Seattle, and they could have won two. He could have had another ring, but obviously decided not to run the ball, and we know what happened. I still remember that. I still remember that very play because my cousins and I were watching it, the game in my basement, and we were all just standing up because we're like, oh, here we go, because we were kind of rooting for Seattle to get it, and Russell Wilson ended up throwing the pick to Malcolm Butler, and again that changed the course of, that started the Patriots, second dynasty, I guess, for the the 2010s, and that basically ended what could have been a dynasty for the Seahawks, so, yeah, so that's pretty much it with this topic. Let me know what you guys think with these coaching changes, these news when it comes to these three guys, and what was your favorite moment from their times with their respective teams. So when we come back from our first break of the show, I'm going to talk about now a different coordinator change now with the Giants, and talk about that situation when we come back from our first break. So stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.